Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're safe and well. Woodsy here, and today we're going to be doing a little custom on the Run the Jewels, as these are quite a hit and miss pair when it comes to the quality control. So I'm going to be dyeing them with some hair dye. So let's check it out. And just like that, it's done. Or that is just the magic of editing. Unfortunately, it took a little bit longer, but it wasn't too long. Probably the main process that took the most time was the masking up. I'm not normally the best for masking up, but I really took my time and it really did benefit me. So I have dyed the right side. I am yet to do the left side, but I am really happy with the results. I'm going to be doing a separate video talking about the quality control issues with this pair. I've now recently got a pair that is a nice bright pink, but this pair has absolutely twisted my melon because of the quality control issues. But it was really cool to do this custom. It made it a lot more low-key and even more wearable in my opinion. So yeah, let's go through the process of how I got to this, and then obviously the on feet at the end. Yeah, let's check it out. Right, so let's get cracking. So we got our right side on the faded pair. Let's take them laces out. Let's give it a little trim. So these are my trimmers. Thought I'd give them a little trim up. Didn't do the best of jobs, and I actually went over it after I dyed it just to neaten it up a bit more. But I just wanted to get away all of the overhanging hair around like the midsole and just on the edges of the wings and stuff like that. And I ended up giving it a little taper, giving it a little fade up as well, just because, well, I thought it seemed to look a little bit more finished. You can also see on this there was like a glue mark from the sole that's got the staining for when I tried to stain these with a semi-permanent pink that did not work. There we go, giving it a lovely little shape up. They call me the barber of dunks. Right, so obviously I had to make sure brushed away all of that hair. And as I said, yeah, I touched it up at the end as well. So, this was the most tedious part, but it was obviously the most important part because I didn't want to get any staining on that midsole. Didn't film this very well, but I tried to get it as close as possible and to cover all of that midsole. And then obviously I taped everything that wasn't going to get dyed. I used brown tape on the back of like the wings and the lace wings because that seemed to stick better, and I also used brown tape on the swooshes. The swooshes is something I definitely didn't want to stain. Then I cut up half of a shopping bag and I placed it in because I didn't want it to get all wet and stained when I was like washing it off. And then really taped that. So yeah, just cut the bag in half, stuffed it in, really taped it with the masking tape. And then I used the other half of the bag to wrap the tongue. Obviously you got yellow on there, you got pink on there. I didn't want any stainage on that because yeah, I wanted to keep it clean, of course. Now I slammed a lot of tape on this, a lot of masking tape. I also went over the toe box. I sort of cut the masking tape into the shape of the toe box, and then yeah, here we have it, the finished product. I did a pretty good job, to be fair, and I was pretty happy with it. It took a bit of time, but I feel like it was very important. Right, so the recording for this is all over the place, but it's because I really wanted to get these taped up and I wanted to dye them. I really wanted to see what they look like. It's taken me a bit of time. I've fully taped and covered them. So hopefully it's going to keep the dye away from the other materials because I am using a permanent black hair dye. So a few people have suggested that maybe this needs to be bleached beforehand, but I'm pretty sure I used to dye my hair with a black hair dye previously amongst other colours, and I know that black hair dye stains like anything. So we're going to use Schwarzkopf Live Intense colour, built-in vibrancy serum. So I'm going to mix this up. I'm going to try and mix half and save half for the other shoe. Don't know when I'm going to do the other shoe because I've still got to film talking about the quality control issues between this pair and the pair that I've now got, which are a nice vibrant colour. But yeah, let's get to dyeing this. So, to the fun part, dyeing the dunks. So I wanted to use half, so luckily I had one of these little measuring things, put half of it, so 30 ml with the peroxide and then half of the tube. So I've got that other half for the other side. And then yeah, just gave it a really good mix up with a brush, luckily my missus had. It would normally be mixed together by shaking it in a bottle, but I'm applying it with a brush, so I just mashed it up with a brush. And then yeah, I was really dainty and really delicate when I was applying this. I wanted to keep the edges of the leather pink, so you still had that pink showing through. But I probably could have really mushed this in a lot more and been a little bit more daring, but obviously it's first time and I know that if I want to go over it, I can go over it, but I do quite like the fact that the end result had some of the pinks shining through. But unfortunately, where I had the tape on the swoosh, on the inner swoosh, there's a line of pink still, but I wanted to make sure that swoosh was protected, and as I said, I can go over it at another point. Now this is later on, this is probably near the end of the process of me painting it on, and it took about 8 minutes roughly to cover the whole shoe. I wasn't fast about it, I don't think I was slow, it was just a moderate time. But yeah, you can already see it's developing. It would have been quite interesting to rinse it off for this period of time because it might have been a dark pink, but I'd got it set in my mind it was going black. So yeah, I ended up painting it on and then leaving it for 30 minutes to develop. And this is it after 30 minutes of development. It looked like it was going to be an absolute nightmare and a mess to clean off, but it wasn't too bad, and obviously I've protected the shoe really well. So, let's get it washed off. Right, so for the shampoo and rinse, so I gave it a good old rinse, really tried to get all of that product out and seeing if the water would run clear. I ended up doing 2 shampoos, but this was the first rinse. So this is after the first shampoo, and then this is just me showing you the second shampoo. I use dog shampoo because I have a little pooch and I have dog shampoo for her, and I thought, yeah, it's hair, it worked perfectly. And I've done quite a long video of this part because it's not every day you see someone shampooing a shoe. So yeah, and what you'll see as well is in the soap suds you have pink from where I tried to dye the faded pink, a nice bright pink with a semi-permanent that did not work, but there was still staining left in that material. But yeah, all good so far, all good so far. Yeah, so just giving it that final second shampoo and then a good old final rinse. Weirdly quite satisfying and fun to rinse this off. And yeah, luckily the shoe didn't get too drenched. It got a little bit, but yeah, not too bad. And then the moment of truth. So gave it a little bit of a drying off with a cloth, and it was time to see if I'd stained that midsole, and I was actually really nervous about this bit. But wallop, what a result. It actually ended up being pretty clean. There was a little bit of staining around the front of the toe box, but really minimal. And there you go, let's dry it. Right, so the final result, I have only done the right shoe so far, and I'm going to be doing the on feet with the one that isn't dyed and the one that is dyed, and at some point I will be doing this pair, or this side, but obviously not on this video. I really like how they turned out. It was a little bit patchy in some areas. I could have really applied it on a lot thicker. But I do like the fact that you do get a hint of the pink hair underneath shining through. I also tried to make it so the edges stayed pink, which is quite difficult, but I think I've only gone over in certain places. But all round, yeah, it's really toned the overall shoe down, and I think it's quite a cool look. And obviously it's a good alternative if you are not that keen on the really faded panels that I had on this pair. I know you might personally like the faded pink, but it just wasn't for me, and I'm really happy that for the outcome on this pair. So at some point I will dye this as well. But yeah, I'm going to go to a close-up of obviously this pair dyed and dried, and then it will go to the on feet. But yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. This was a fun video, hope you enjoyed. It's Woodsy out.